Donc, bonjour tout le monde. Hi, everyone. Last day of the coaching summit. I must admit that the feedback that we are receiving from participants who had a chance to live the coaching summit or live the coaching conversation with a coach, feedback flowing in is just amazingly positive. So we are really proud about the results of the summit. There are lots of things that we're learning also with our speakers. Nous avons eu la chance cette semaine de vivre et d'expérimenter un peu plus sur les connaissances et les compréhensions de ce que veut dire le coaching versus le mentorat, de comprendre un peu plus l'impact d'un coaching de groupe, and also live a group coaching conversation. And yesterday we also had a chance to live a performance conversation, how to use coaching within a different context of a conversation, context that sometimes you live within the workplace, which is how do you measure and assess the performance of others, but how do you talk about it using the coaching principles? Donc, aujourd'hui, nous avons un nouvel outil qui vous est présenté par deux coachs qui sont certifiés en utilisant le système 4D. Ils vont vous expliquer plus tard ce que c'est le système. This will be a bilingual session, but the PowerPoint is available in both official languages, so feel free to intervene in the language of your choice. I know that Anne Choquette, who is a certified coach in the 4D system, but also a professional certified coach, master corporate executive coach, certified coach supervisor in Mosaic International, and holds an executive master consulting and coaching for change from HEC Paris in collaboration with Said Business School. She's fully bilingual. She speaks French as well. She'll take care of the portion, but also for the French portion, but she'll be there also to answer all of your questions dans la langue de votre choix. Et j'ai le bonheur aussi de vous présenter John McCready. John, who has also participated in the first edition of the Coaching Summit as a coach. So you offered coaching conversation with participants. So thank you, John, for collaborating with us and offering your support. John c'est un coach professionnel certifié avec l'ICF, donc l'Institut de la Fédération internationale de coaching. Et c'est un consultant aussi du 4D. Il est certifié. Il est également certifié Leeds, certifié Hogan, formé de l'ORSC, qui est l'Organisation Relationship Systems Coach. C'est un expert en service clientèle de haut niveau et Jonathan a plus de 30 ans d'expérience en tant qu'entrepreneur et propriétaire d'entreprise, constructeur d'équipes et gestionnaire. Depuis, il a obtenu son diplôme de la faculté de coaching professionnel d'Adler en 2010. Jonathan a coaché des dirigeants individuels, des équipes, des groupes dans diverses organisations et industries, que ce soit la soins de la santé, l'ingénierie, l'assurance, l'hôtellerie et j'en passe. Sa bio, elle est dans le programme. So I am super excited because during the summit, we wanted to share with you not only the impact of coaching, but different tools that you can use in your work, in your professional, but also personal life. It's something that could complement also the coaching. And coaches normally offer a lot of these tools. This tool can be used within the workplace for yourself, and I will let our speakers explain how and what impact it has. So Anne and Jonathan, all yours.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, France.
That's nice. So
Jonathan,
that was a
great introduction. Thank you so much. It's, you know what, it's really it's a pleasure to be here with everybody today and a real honor to be able to share this this information with you. So we're really looking forward to doing this. We will be asking for a volunteer from our audience to do a coaching demo a later part of our presentation. And so if you want to participate in that, please put that in the chat and also indicate that you're okay being on camera and having your mic live, and also indicate the language of your preference. And we'll be able to coach through that. We'll just be using one of the tools to demonstrate how this works. So this is the 4D systems coaching, and we say learn it, live it, and love it. And as France said, this is something that we want to be able to not just use as a coaching tool and not just think about something that we'll take off a shelf and use when we need it, but really incorporate it into our own operating systems and be able to actually live it every day. And when we do this, we discover that we do love it.
Donc, je vais donc faire la même chose en français. Alors, merci à tous d'être là. Merci de nous donner votre attention pour les prochaines 90 minutes. C'est effectivement un outil qu'on doit apprendre, on doit le vivre et on doit le maîtriser pour vraiment l'apprécier. C'est un outil qu'on peut utiliser tous les jours dans notre quotidien et même s'il est d'une simplicité extraordinaire, il est drôlement compliqué quand on essaie de tout maîtriser les comportements de façon intègre et à tous les jours. Donc, c'est ça le défi qu'on a à faire. C'est un honneur d'être ici. Puis, on va essayer de ne pas trop se répéter pour que ce soit plus facile, surtout que plusieurs d'entre vous êtes bilingues. Donc, on va rajouter de l'information au fur et à mesure avec le support des slides qui sont en français et en anglais.
Sorry, better put my mic on. We're going to talk about coaching leaders in crisis, complexity, and chaos. And that is sort of what's going on around us right now in the VUCA world. We're looking at novel problems like COVID, and these are creating new challenges for us that we've never seen before. We need new models to think differently, and because things are becoming more and more unpredictable than they ever have been.
Donc, on est vraiment ici en mode coaching des leaders qui, eux aussi, comme nous, sont dans des périodes de crise, des périodes de complexité et de chaos. Et le VUCA vient vraiment, on est vraiment dans une période VUCA et on le vit entre autres avec le COVID. Moi, personnellement, présentement, je suis en France. Je sais que je rentre demain avec tous les tests que ça demande. Je dois revenir normalement à quelque part en janvier et ce qui était très simple avant à faire devient très compliqué maintenant sans savoir si on ne peut pas, si les règles vont changer à la dernière minute ou pas. Donc, ça fait partie d'aider des clients qui font aussi face à l'incertitude.
So we're going to be talking about the VUCA world and how we position ourselves and our clients to expect the unexpected and to see around corners. We'll be sharing the story of the Hubble Space Telescope failure and talking about what was learned from that and how we can use these powerful lessons with our coaching and how we can use them with ourselves. So just a quick touch on VUCA. It's volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And so being a leader in the VUCA world means defining a clear target without knowing how to get there and embarking on that journey towards that destination. And so when we talk about the Hubble Space Telescope and its initial massive failure, it was an ambitious and highly complex project right from the get-go. Even more importantly, its repair mission checked all of the VUCA boxes. This had never been done before. And when we look at 4D, it provides coaching tools to support leaders in the VUCA world.
Alors, comme Jonathan vient de dire, VUCA, on en parle beaucoup. On en parle depuis des années, depuis une dizaine d'années où c'est de plus en plus fréquent, simplement par la complexité, la réglementation, le changement du climat. Il y a plein de variables qui s'ajoutent maintenant. Et donc, VUCA, comme vous le savez peut-être, c'est le V pour volatilité, le U devient un I chez nous pour l'incertitude, la complexité et le A pour ambiguïté. Ce qui est important quand on coach un leader qui fait face à une situation VUCA ou dans un contexte VUCA, c'est important de l'aider à avoir une idée d'où il veut aller, mais à le rendre confortable dans l'inconfort, à s'assurer de le rassurer qu'il ne saura pas, puis qu'il va avancer dans le noir comme tous les autres et finir par arriver à la lumière. Hubble est un exemple parfait parce que c'est un projet qui était d'une technologie qui avait jamais été faite avant. Et la mission de réparation encore plus parce que c'était la première fois qu'il avait à réparer un télescope qui était déjà en orbite. Donc, 4D, on se rend compte maintenant combien il est bien adapté pour un contexte VUCA.
So let's get into talking about VUCA.
Oui, directement, on va à la VUCA.
So David Peterson and David Goldsmith describe VUCA as follows in their Accelerated Coach Excellence program. So we're kind of used to things changing faster than ever, and we all need to learn faster and better. That's kind of a model that we're all fairly familiar with, as we've gone through our careers. But with VUCA and what's going on nowadays, it seems like different kinds of things are changing faster than ever. And so as a result of that, we all need to learn different kinds of things faster and in different ways.
Dans le fond, pour ceux qui connaissent WebEx, WBCS, il y a un cours pour les coachs d'accélération pour l'excellence et les deux fondateurs, David Peterson et Goldsmith, décrivent VUCA comme étant juste une alerte à quelque part, de se rendre compte que les choses changent très rapidement, comme on sait, mais ce qui est différent maintenant, c'est qu'il y a plusieurs choses en même temps qui changent rapidement, ce qui nous force, nous, à s'adapter et apprendre différentes choses plus rapidement.
So let's look at VUCA. So it's a radically different leadership context. So the V is for volatile, which is talking about rapid, sudden, constant change. U is for uncertain, unclear information and outcomes. We don't even know about the information that's beginning to emerge, and we certainly aren't aware of the outcomes. It's complex, multiplicity of variables and unknowns, so many different things that we may have had blind spots about that are just coming out of all sides now. And it's ambiguous. There's lack of clarity about the meaning of events. What do these things even mean?
Tout à fait raison. Alors, tout à l'heure, on disait l'importance d'apprendre différentes choses, l'importance d'apprendre rapidement parce qu'on n'a pas le choix. Quand on est coach, on doit aussi être un pas devant, essayer de voir un peu ce qui s'en vient pour aider nos clients à s'ouvrir sans avoir les réponses, mais au moins avoir les bonnes questions pour qui va permettre de s'adapter. Et les questions tournent autour justement de reconnaître la volatilité, de reconnaître tout ce qui change aussi rapidement, toute l'incertitude, l'information qui est pas stable, qui est pas on sait comment faire. La complexité, il y a tellement de variables qui s'ajoutent maintenant, tellement d'inconnus, même quand on fait juste rajouter les médias sociaux dans l'équation, ça vient ramener de l'inconnu et de l'ambiguïté où on manque de clarté sur les événements. Encore une fois, si on pense à COVID-19, ça revient à ça.
So why do we want to talk? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Thank you. So why should we talk about 4D?
Just go for it.
Okay, we'll go for it. So because 4D was born from a leadership failure of a very complex problem. So let's start with what this Hubble story is all about, because we keep talking about Hubble, we keep talking about this project that failed massively. So the Hubble Space Telescope was launched into low Earth orbit in April of 1990. The overall project cost close to $2 billion, took years and years and literally thousands and thousands of hours of people's effort. When the Space Telescope was finally in orbit and the cameras turned on and they gazed into space, the pictures that were being transmitted back to Earth were blurry. And at first they kind of thought, oh, this is nothing, it'll just correct itself. But pretty soon they determined that there's something very, very wrong with this telescope. Pictures were not good, and in fact, pictures taken from ground-based telescopes were providing much better pictures. So basically, Hubble had turned into a $2 billion failure. So after this was over, or after this was they really figured out what was going on, there was a failure review board. And what they determined was that this was a failure of leadership. It was a technical failure, but it really was a failure in the leadership of the entire project. At the time, Dr. Charles Pellerin was the director of astrophysics at NASA, and he was in charge of the Hubble project. He couldn't accept at the time that the flawed mirror was his fault because it was built years before he had taken on the role and was in command of the Hubble project. But during the review, they discovered that there were hints suggesting that there were problems with the mirror during the testing that was occurring during Dr. Pellerin's leadership time. So there was so much unrelenting pressure to launch Hubble on time that things were overlooked and problems were rationalized away. This was through confirmation bias. This was making them see what they wanted to see, and they were not paying attention to the unfortunate realities of a challenge with the mirror. So Dr. Pellerin's mind actually began to change. When he started off, he blamed others that this wasn't his problem. It was other people's fault. But he began to think that he was accountable and he can fix Hubble and he will fix Hubble. So they launched a repair mission, which was a true Vuca project because it had never been done before. Space repair had never occurred. And he was actually told not to do it in the first place. They actually told him to just make this go away. But he was so committed to fixing the problem that he launched the mission to fix Hubble, and he did. And today we're still enjoying these beautiful images from space that Hubble has provided to us.
But you can add thanks to the Canadian arm.
Right.
Which he always does add.
That's right.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so...
Thanks, Anne.
En français maintenant, pourquoi on parle de 4D? Parce que 4D est né d'un projet hautement complexe et avec un problème de leadership et qui devient maintenant une approche pour le leadership. Donc, Hubble, comme vous savez, c'est un télescope qui a maintenant 30 ans, qui, grâce à la mission de réparation, nous envoie maintenant des images extraordinaires, pas comme celle où on voit sur la deuxième photo, et qui a été construit sur une période de 15 années. Charlie, qui vient juste, que Jonathan vient de discuter, à 30 quelques années, à 38 ans, je pense, est devenu directeur du département d'astrophysique. Hubble était déjà à sa 7e année, avait déjà passé des différents directeurs de projet. Il était déjà en dépassement de coûts, ils étaient déjà en dépassement de temps. Donc, quand Charlie est arrivé, il avait à son actif 11 lancements de satellites qui avaient tous été une réussite. Le 12e l'a pas été, c'était Hubble. On ne refera pas toute l'histoire. Ce que ça nous amène, c'est que la NASA, lorsqu'elle fait face à un incident ou un accident, mortel ou non, il y a des commissions d'enquête qui sont mises sur pied parce que c'est de l'argent public. Et cette commission d'enquête-là ont trouvé les problèmes techniques, mais ont aussi se sont dit quand même des gens aussi intelligents faire des erreurs aussi basiques. Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé? Et c'est en fouillant, si on reste sur l'erreur, les images sont revenues floues parce que le miroir avait été mal poli. Et c'est une erreur que normalement quelqu'un fait quand il veut faire un télescope à la maison dans son garage puis qui polie pour les premières fois son miroir. C'est un style d'image comme ça qu'il va avoir. Mais après 1,7 milliard de dollars et 15 années de recherche, c'est un peu surprenant, surtout quand on se dit, si on travaille à la NASA, on doit être pas mal brillant, donc à quelque part, qu'est-ce qu'il fait? Et le commissaire d'enquête a eu l'intelligence de chercher plus loin et c'est là qu'il est revenu avec le verdict d'un leadership déficient. Pourquoi un leadership déficient? Parce que pendant toutes ces années où Charlie était à la tête de ce projet puis voulait que les choses avancent, il a été vraiment en mode de « je ne veux pas entendre parler des problèmes, je veux entendre parler des solutions ». Donc, ramenez-moi des solutions, plus d'overtime, plus de dépassement de coûts, plus de dépassement de temps. On va livrer ce qu'on est supposé de livrer. Donc, il était vraiment pour aller jusqu'au bout. Si bien que le sous-contractant, le contracteur, ce qu'il a fait, c'est qu'il avait déjà fait 2 tests qui avaient mesuré le miroir et que tout était parfait. Donc, il s'est dit, le 3e, il va nous amener en dépassement de coûts. Donc, on ne fera pas le 3e, on va tout simplement sauter ça. Et on n'a pas besoin de le dire parce qu'il ne veut pas avoir les problèmes, il veut juste avoir le résultat. Et c'est dans ce cadre-là que le président de la commission d'enquête est revenu avec un leadership déficient. Et c'est là qu'on voit que Charlie, après avoir passé le choc, après avoir mis de côté que c'est un problème de leadership, après avoir lancé la mission de réparation, qui s'est mis à réfléchir sur, c'est quoi le problème? C'est un problème de contexte. À quelque part que les gens les plus intelligents, ils ne peuvent pas réussir dans un contexte qui est toxique. Et qu'est-ce qui fait un contexte? Ben, c'est la personnalité de chacun qui change un peu quand on est stressé. Hein. On est super smooth, on est gentil avec les gens avec qui on travaille, on est toujours avenant et tout d'un coup, on ne l'est plus, on est stressé, on change notre personnalité, change un peu. C'est notre pop Mr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, un peu, à chacun d'entre nous. Il y a aussi, ça vient influencer notre dialogue interne, ça vient influencer nos pensées qui, eux, influencent nos comportements et on change nos comportements tranquillement. Et c'est là qu'on devient dans un contexte qui est plus toxique. Alors, pourquoi c'est important? Parce que ça peut arriver à n'importe qui, mais nous, la plupart d'entre nous, on a la chance de ne pas être mis, nos erreurs ne sont pas affichées sur la une des journaux, à la une des journaux, ou encore dans une commission d'enquête. Fait que c'est pour ça que c'est important et c'est pour ça que c'est pertinent pour nos clients. Do you want to add something, Jonathan?
Wow, I think you've covered it pretty well. I think
French.
actually you've covered it. Oh yeah, okay. It is Vuca. I think I don't think there's anything else that I could add to what I said. I probably could because I think you added some more detail than I did.
Okay.
Did I hear something there?
No, well, I was going to say I thought it froze. Basically, the only thing I've added in English for your audience, it's basically that at the end, the real question was, right, why did this happen? How highly intelligent people failed at something that seemed to be kind of basic to a certain extent. And therefore, the question, the answer that Charlie gave was the toxic environment. It was a toxic context. And if you want to add some more on this.
Sure. So the NASA's attitude towards its contractors was really toxic. So they were putting so much unrelenting pressure on them to make things happen, make it happen now. We don't want to hear problems. We don't want any overruns. And so what was really happening with NASA's contractors were when NASA would get on the phone and the contractor would see them calling, they would say, just get them off the phone as quickly as possible. Tell them what they want to hear. So we don't have to take any more of these verbal beatings that they're going to give us. So that's what began to happen. So the idea about rationalizing away problems was that they actually were not actually sharing these problems. And even when so that on one hand, you could say, well, the contractor didn't share the problems correctly, but there were definitely hints of issues with the mirror in terms of NASA's own testing, but they were so concerned about overruns. And again, this unrelenting pressure to get things done. This thing has to happen, that they began to, when they began to see problems, they began to actually rationalize them away, and so they wouldn't actually have to deal with them, and that's a very dangerous thing to do.
And this is why it's so relevant to our clients, regardless if we work for the Canadian Space Agency, NASA, or the Food and Drug, whichever agency we're working or minister we're working in.
Absolutely. So for using Vuca as a coaching tool, it's really important for coaches to understand a couple of things about Vuca, that it has two primary drivers and two side effects, and that also Vuca needs to be addressed both rationally and emotionally. So we can't just say, yeah, we'll fix this with just rational problems. We also have to notice how it feels and what it's like for us to live in Vuca, and how do we address those challenges. So complexity and volatility are the things that we need to pay attention to rationally. So these are multiple interconnected and interdependent variables that interact in unpredictable ways. So complexity and volatility need to be understood and addressed rationally. And the volatility, the change part of this model, is this ongoing exponential change with new and unexpected variables and dynamics and evolving context. So what's happening next, I just don't know. And you know, we've had so many conversations in the last 9 months with clients, and so many people just have an anxiety, this general anxiety about, we just don't know what to expect. We don't know what's happening. And for that, we need to really pay attention to how this is making us feel emotionally, and versus just saying, well, I don't have time for emotions right now. We really do have to bring that in. So uncertainty and ambiguity require to be engaged and addressed emotionally. And so just to be clear,
So, yes.
I was going to say the complexity and the vulnerability, the volatility and complexity are the drivers, and uncertainty and ambiguity are the side effects.
So what's important, ce qui est important pour les coachs, c'est vraiment de retenir que dans ces 4 lettres, il y en a 2 qui sont du côté du moteur et qu'on doit traiter de façon rationnelle. Et c'est la complexité et la volatilité. Donc, c'est d'aider le client à trouver quelles sont les variables qui ne seront pas capables de prédire nécessairement, mais qui vont interagir, fait au moins identifier les variables et identifier qu'est-ce qui peut changer dans la dynamique, qu'est-ce qui va être sujet à ne pas être stable quelque part. Et d'autre part, de regarder comment est-ce qu'on aborde tout ce qui est l'incertitude et l'ambiguïté. Et ça, il faut amener nos leaders à être ouverts, à écouter, à développer leur intelligence émotionnelle pour être capables d'accueillir tant leur équipe, mener les équipes, faire du mieux qu'ils peuvent malgré ce brouillard qui s'installe avec Vuca. France, tu es apparue. Est-ce que tu souhaites parler?
En fait, je vais inviter les gens à se prononcer. Je pense qu'il y a beaucoup de commentaires intéressants. Il y en a qui ont dit « wow » et il y en a aussi qui mentionnent que c'est important de trouver non seulement les erreurs, mais vraiment, je vais lire le commentaire parce que je pense que c'est très important. Like we learned yesterday, we really have to be open and watching for problems amongst our team and not just ignore. Because small things like that start to create a toxic environment. Donc, je pense que ça fait réfléchir beaucoup les gens, les leaders, les employés. Je pense que c'est une responsabilité de tous et les gens ont beaucoup apprécié. Plusieurs n'avaient pas entendu parler de l'abréviation Vuca. So some people, it's new for them, that Vuca acronym. Thank you.
Okay. And maybe, Jonathan, if you want to make the difference between what's complicated and what's complex.
Sure.
You have sure. Thank you.
Well, you know what? We have that story that we talked about. I was thinking that we might save it for the end, or let's just do it now. Why not? Absolutely. So, I think just one more thing about that, sort of addressing the emotional side of Vuca, is that when we are feeling anxious and when we're challenged and when we're tired and when we're bored and dealing with this, those conditions really amplify all of our challenging behaviors. So if we have a tendency to withdraw from people or move against people, or because we all have challenging behaviors as leaders and as coaches and as people, but none of us are perfect. But what happens when we get into these conditions, when we're not paying attention to the emotional side of it and actively managing what's going on, then all of our sort of bad or dark side behaviors really get amplified, and that really, again, will impact the people that we're working with and impact the people whom we're leading. So let's just really get clear on the difference between what's complicated and what's complex, because sometimes people will interchange those words, and they actually have 2 very different meanings. So if things are complicated, it means that there's a lot of moving parts and things going on with it, but we can measure it, we can solve it, we know what the outcome is going to be because we've done this before. We can measure it, and we know what to expect. There might be a lot of moving parts to it, but we know how it runs. We know how this will look like at the end. With complexity, everything's unknown. There's too many things that we are unaware of that are coming in at different times and popping up in different places, and the outcome is absolutely unknown. And I'll share a story that I think will be relevant to what we're talking about here. So we talked about Dr. Pellerin and Charlie quite a lot in this, because this system is the system which he created. And both Anne and I work closely with Charlie, and we talk to him on a regular basis. And recently, where he lives in Colorado, there was a fire which came down the hill and burned his house down. And I mean, this is also another part of the Vuca world. They've never had fires like this where he is. This is all due to climate change and all kinds of other changing things. That's not the point. So Charlie's house burned to the ground. He had 1 hour's notice to get himself and his wife out of the house with any of the things that they wanted, and to actually never return to the house, because when they came back, it was gone. So that happened. And I was talking to Charlie the other day, and he was saying that that's a complicated problem, because there was a lot of moving parts and a lot of things going on. But he knew how it started. He knew, and he knows how it ends. The insurance company is going to take care of everything, and he's very, very rational about the whole thing, and so he knows how that story ends. He's going to move to a new place, and that'll be the end of the story. What he said was that COVID is much more anxiety producing than his house burning down. And we would look at both of those stories and say, wow, having a house burning down is really difficult and challenging, which it is. But the COVID problem is weighing much more heavily, because there's just no answers to it. We don't know how it's going, and we don't know where it's going to end. So that's really a strong story that describes what is a complicated situation and what's a complex situation, and how they impact us emotionally. Do you want to say more to that, Anne?
Alors, si je reprends, that's perfect. I'm just going to go for the end. Basically, what Jonathan just shared it's a true story. It's Charlie's story. It's the author's story. He lives in Colorado. Mon Dieu, je vous parle en anglais. Ce qu'il vient de vous raconter. Ce qu'il vient de vous raconter, je suis vraiment désolée. Ce qu'il vient de vous raconter, c'est que c'est l'histoire de Charlie qui est réelle. Il y a 1 mois et demi ou à peu près, quand il y a eu les feux au Colorado, sa maison a brûlé. Et lorsqu'il parlait, Jonathan lui parlait, je pense même hier, où il disait que pour lui, le fait que la maison est brûlée, c'est juste un problème qui est compliqué. Il y a plusieurs variables, il y a plusieurs intervenants, parties prenantes, il faut faire plein de choses, mais les choses sont claires, on sait comment le faire, ça prend juste du temps. Puis on a peut-être besoin d'experts pour venir nous aider, mais ça s'arrête là. Il disait qu'il était beaucoup plus anxieux par rapport à la COVID, parce que la COVID, elle, on n'a pas de chemin clair, on ne sait pas exactement quand, comment, qu'est-ce qui va se passer. Et ça amène un autre niveau de gestion. Donc, tout ça pour expliquer la différence entre le compliqué et le complexe de façon concise. Merci beaucoup. Thank you, Jonathan, for this. Donc, ici, vous avez la réalité entre la complexité et la volatilité, l'incertitude et l'ambiguïté, comme j'ai dit tout à l'heure, mais je ne vous avais pas donné la slide. Et maintenant, I'll let you go ahead with this one.
Okay. So another thing that came out of the Hubble failure and the review and all of the aftermath of this was that it was determined that social context was a more powerful determinant of a team's success or failure than individual skills or intelligence. So what I can say about this, and you'll see some pictures of disasters that we recognize. We've got the Titanic, we've got the Challenger explosion, we've got Fukushima, and we've got the Boeing 737 MAX 8 jet issue. So every single industrial and transportation failure that we can remember can be traced directly to a broken social context. So, as I said, that's either Challengers, Space Shuttle, Fukushima, Titanic, or Boeing. And what happens with a broken social context is it allows a chain of events to occur which will result in a disaster. So it's kind of an incremental descent into disaster. And the importance of social context is that it is made up of the combined behaviors of people on a team or in an organization. And what ends up happening is that the social context is the force that impacts the culture that we have, how we do things around here. So you might look at the Titanic and say, well, that's an easy one. It hit an iceberg and went down. That's part of the problem, but the problem with the Titanic began to occur actually at the building of the Titanic. We don't have time to tell the whole story, but there is a chain of events that occurred right from when they laid the keel, right from when that iceberg ripped a hole in the side. Same thing with Challenger, very specific example of Challenger. Here's again a very highly skilled technical teams of people, very intelligent people putting together this program, but there was so much pressure coming from the management at NASA to make this happen that this is what the result was. And there's actually engineers who went home the day before the Challenger explosion happened, and one of them said to his wife, "This thing is going to blow up tomorrow." They knew this, they reported it, and the big question is, why did they launch if the data suggested otherwise?
Merci. So, ce qui est important, je vais juste changer la slide, si vous me permettez. Ce qui est important aussi, c'est de se rendre compte que la NASA n'est pas seule là-dedans. Tout à l'heure, je vous disais, nos clients, on le vit aussi, et chacun d'entre nous, quand on a des échecs, on ne le vit pas à cette mesure-là, mais on le vit aussi. Et c'est souvent tous ces grands accidents-là, Fukushima, Challenger, le Boeing ou Titanic, on peut tous les connecter à un problème de contexte. Et le problème de contexte vient avec des forces extérieures, certes. Ça n'empêche pas des crises quand on a un bon contexte non plus, mais ça veut dire que dans un contexte comme celui-là, ce qui aurait pu être une petite crise ou un petit retard ou si on prend Challenger qu'ils auraient retardé, ça aurait eu plein d'impact sur les autres payloads qu'ils appellent, les autres lancements possibles, que ce soit Fukushima, ça n'aurait pas empêché le tsunami, ça n'aurait pas empêché le tremblement de terre, mais ça aurait simplement probablement pas eu une explosion du cœur ou le cœur du réacteur n'aurait pas fondu à ce moment-là s'ils avaient intervenu d'une façon différente, si la chaîne de commande aurait passé différemment. Donc, ce qui devient important de se rappeler dans ça, c'est de porter attention à notre contexte, le contexte que l'on crée. Comme disait tout à l'heure quelqu'un qui a écrit, quand on laisse les petits problèmes ou qu'on les ignore ou quand on parle de « the elephant in the room hein, », de ces gros éléphants qui sont dans la pièce mais on fait comme s'ils n'existaient pas, c'est le même principe. Alors, plus on est conscient de ça comme coach ou comme leader, plus on peut le questionner, on peut le traiter, on peut y faire face. Donc, si on vous présente 4D in a nutshell, je te laisse aller.
So just looking at 4D in a nutshell. So it's important that we're understanding ourselves and others. We're adapting our communication to others' preferences, taking into account the context, focusing on 8 key behaviors, which we'll be talking about, being able to shift our storylines to see the solutions, and adapting behaviors to obtain desired results.
Donc, principalement, ce qui est 4D, 4D, c'est tout ce qu'on vient de ce que Jonathan vient de dire. Donc, c'est se comprendre soi et comprendre l'autre. C'est d'être capable d'adapter notre message, nos communications aux besoins de notre interlocuteur. C'est de tenir compte du contexte. Est-ce qu'il est toxique? Est-ce qu'il est sain, ce contexte-là? C'est de se concentrer sur les 8 comportements que l'on va vérifier, qu'on va présenter dans quelques instants. C'est de changer le dialogue interne parce qu'on se dit que dans le fond, l'autre équipe est très bonne, sont toujours en retard et ce n'est pas de notre faute. Et donc, ça vient agir sur la façon dont on les aborde. Et c'est d'adapter les comportements pour avoir les résultats souhaités.
Vous pouvez regarder, it's France here. You can look in the chat. There are a few great comments. Leaders have to make tough calls. If it works out, they are called inspirational leaders. But if it fails, leaders are doomed. And there's another one, I think the tendency to want to silo aspects of a project leads to a lack of communication between everyone working on the project. So there were a few great comments. I think it makes people reflect on what's happening in their own environment. And some people referred to also the Phoenix project within the public service as maybe an example of a Hubble.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great example too. And I wasn't actually quite sure whether I should mention that one, but it is if you look at anything that's written about Phoenix, one of the complaints is that managers were trying to share problems up to their managers, and the managers above just said, I don't want to hear your problems. I don't want to hear your stories. Just fix it and make it happen. So yeah, this is a really real thing.
There was also a comment about the pressure to deliver. That's a comment from one of the participants. So the pressure to deliver, could you expand a bit on that? If it applies, if not, it's okay.
Absolutely applies, and I think that that is a real issue. And again, sort of these are all complex problems. So the idea is that the idea isn't that we're going to say, here's the 4D model, it'll fix all those problems, because leading and managing and coaching in Vuca is not necessarily single solution seeking, but what we want to do is be able to figure out how we seek good process in order to address these things, because we never are quite sure when these challenges are going to be over. And so this pressure to deliver is absolutely a real thing. And so I think the thing to think about under that is, so if you're coaching leaders who are saying, who might be falling into that that category of this unrelenting downward pressure, what kind of questions do you need to ask them in order to get them to think about the kind of pressure that they're putting on their teams and their people, and what might they do differently in order to achieve results, but also maybe not be so pressuring. And this is where 4D comes into play, because if we just say, just get it done, that's a lot of pressure. But if we're able to sort of do this in a 4D request fashion, where we are appreciating people for the jobs that they're doing, we're including the right people in getting this thing done, we're being really clear on roles, accountability, and authority, what's expected, and who has the power and authority to do things, and also demonstrate the commitment to this, but also be willing to address unfortunate realities that might be coming up. So if you're saying to people, if a leader is saying to people, just get it done, and the people are trying to say, we want to get it done, but we have these issues, and the leader is saying, I don't want to hear about it, that's a real disconnect in there. Do you want to say anything more about that, Anne?
Je vais répondre en français. Dans le fond, la question était sur la pression qu'on peut recevoir par les équipes, la pression, comment on fait pour résister à cette pression-là. Et quelque part, plus qu'une des personnes dans une équipe a la permission ou peut prendre la permission et en coaching, on peut aider les gens à faire ça, de pouvoir faire face à la réalité et de le communiquer de façon à ce qu'on puisse prendre aussi en compte c'est quoi la pression de l'autre côté, parce qu'il y a une chaîne de pression qui s'exerce généralement. Fait que si notre patron ne veut pas, notre superviseur nous dit qu'il faut continuer à livrer puis qu'on se dit il y a un problème, mais qu'est-ce que ça va lui prendre, lui, pour qu'il puisse avoir, ou elle, pour qu'elle puisse avoir le courage d'aller en haut pour le rapporter, parce qu'en haut aussi, ils vivent de la pression. Fait qu'il faut prendre toute la chaîne au complet. L'autre jour, j'étais avec un client, il est dans une situation où son usine va moins bien que d'autres usines. C'est devenu plus grand que juste son usine. Donc, ça a un impact sur l'ensemble du groupe et ça a même un impact au niveau gouvernemental maintenant, qui doivent prendre des décisions par rapport à des mesures de sûreté, sécurité. Et l'autre jour, on lui a offert de l'aide, le groupe lui a offert de l'aide et il ne voulait pas la prendre. Et la discussion que j'ai eue avec lui comme coach, c'était de lui dire, dans la situation que tu as présentement, c'est plus grand que toi. Ce n'est pas personnel à toi, mais ça peut le devenir si tu n'entends pas. Et si tu ne réussis pas à trouver qu'est-ce qu'ils ont besoin, eux, pour avoir confiance qu'en ce moment, tu as tout ce qu'il faut en main pour réussir. parce que leur niveau d'inquiétude est plus grand et donc ils ne t'entendent pas parler. Fait que comment est-ce qu'on peut le tourner de côté? Fait que ça, c'est un exemple qu'on donne. Fait que ce qui est intéressant, and I'll switch and I'll give you back, I'll go to French directly and I'll come back to English. Ce qui est intéressant dans ce cadre-là, c'est vraiment que quand on regarde les 8 comportements, c'est qu'ils nous amènent à prendre en compte l'entièreté. Tout à l'heure, l'exemple que Jonathan a donné sur si on veut faire passer un message, on le fait de façon 4D, mais c'est aussi de se dire, OK, c'est quoi le sens de l'action qui se passe en ce moment? Comment est-ce que je fais pour créer un intérêt commun avec l'autre partie? Comment je m'intéresse à l'autre pour que mon collègue ait envie de travailler puis que la collaboration soit bonne? Comment est-ce que je m'intéresse à toutes les parties prenantes, à quelque part, là, quand on fait ça. Si on descend, c'est l'inclusion. Alors, quelle personne je dois inclure dans mon équipe? Quelle personne à qui je dois passer cette information-là? Comment est-ce que je vais créer de la confiance? Puis comment est-ce que je vais être digne de confiance en respectant, entre autres, ma parole? Et quand on va du côté du bleu, dans le carré bleu que vous avez là, on parle de s'engager pleinement. Quand Hubble est arrivé, il y a eu Charlie, quand la mauvaise nouvelle est revenue, il s'est pleinement engagé à trouver une solution, même si la NASA lui a dit « tu mets ça sous le tapis ». Il s'est organisé pour le faire avancer jusqu'au point pour le faire changer d'idée. Donc, son engagement était 100%. Et après ça, d'avoir le courage de faire face aux réalités qui sont plus difficiles, qui sont inconfortables, puis qu'on n'a pas le goût de regarder, mais c'est seulement quand on regarde les vrais problèmes qu'on est capable de trouver des vraies solutions et de se donner les outils pour pouvoir bien s'organiser, responsabiliser nos gens, être nous-mêmes responsables de nos gestes, de nos actes, de notre structure, puis d'éviter les mélodrames. Fait que dans le modèle 4D, il nous donne des comportements qui viennent avec 4 dimensions qui sont de l'altruisme, de l'inclusion, de la vision et du côté plus structure, directif, organisation. Ça nous aide aussi à penser à quoi parfois en équipe, on partage aussi un dialogue interne à l'équipe. Je vous disais tout à l'heure, l'autre équipe n'est pas si bonne que ça, sont toujours en retard, etc. C'est ce qu'on se raconte. Où on se trouve, eux autres sont vraiment mieux que nous, ils ont toujours tous les privilèges, c'est toujours eux qui ont tout le mérite, donc on réagit après ça différemment. Donc, l'approche, c'est de porter attention, d'adapter nos comportements, de changer notre état d'esprit pour avoir des résultats qui sont différents. Les leaders en période Vuca ont besoin de changer leur état d'esprit, ils ont besoin de regarder les problèmes différemment, ils ont besoin d'être conscients de leur mélodrame, de leur piège à eux. Est-ce que ce sont des gens qui vont tomber en mode victime rapidement? Est-ce que c'est un leader qui va être en mode vouloir sauver tout le monde? Il va tout garder, il va s'épuiser tellement qu'il veut faire pour les autres. Est-ce qu'il va être en mode minimiser, rationaliser? C'est pas grave, on va régler les problèmes plus tard, on s'en occupe pas pour l'instant, ça me dérange pas de toute façon. Ou il va tomber dans le piège de blâmer ou de se plaindre. Donc, ça vous donne 4D sur une page, c'est ça. À toi la parole. Your turn. I'll go back to English.
Thanks, Anne. There was some interesting comments in the chat box there about just kind of, this isn't necessarily up to one leader. This whole idea about 4D and being aware of our mindsets and where we are and how we begin to stretch and think about where other people might be is everybody's responsibility. So it's not just the leader. But in this case, we are all leaders, and I think it's important, as coaches or as team members or as team leaders, whatever it might be, that we all have a role in this, and that we all want to make sure that we are trying to become as 4D able as we can, in order to be accountable and participate in creating a positive and sustainable social context for our team. So let's just look at the 4D model. So it's right here, and it's got these 4 dimensions on a grid. On the left side, we are the sort of the emotional side of things. Remember, we talked about dealing with Vuca. This is where this part of it is. This is the emotional people side. On the right side of the model, it's the logical, the task side, where we have to approach Vuca from a rational perspective. And then some people like to get their information by intuiting it. If we look at the top of the model, thinking about what's possible, and then other people sense their information from what's in front of us right here and right now. So as we go through the model, one thing I'll say is that each and every one of us has a innate preference on this model, and you might recognize yours as we go through it, and you might recognize the dimension that might give you the most challenge as well. So let's just start with, I like to start with building trust. So let's look at the including dimension, which is the yellow dimension on the people side and the present side of our model. So the behaviors are appropriate inclusion and keeping all of our agreements. So what does that mean? Thinking about appropriate inclusion, who are the people that I need to be thinking about to be included in all of the information, the power and rewards that I have to share. It also, and so we say appropriate inclusion versus just inclusion, because there's going to be people that we don't necessarily need to include in certain things. So we want to make sure that we're being aware of that. Prime example is when we're sending an email out to somebody or returning an email, do we have to, I'm sure that everybody knows somebody who always hits reply all when it doesn't need. So it's even down to little things like that. Being really, really aware of these behaviors and keeping all agreements. So notice when we go into agreement with another person, even if it's something as easy as, I'll have that for you at 11 o'clock on Friday. So in order to keep that agreement, we either show up on Friday with whatever it is that we promised, or if we can't, we need to renegotiate that agreement at 10:30 and say, listen, it's been a tough week or a busy week. I just can't have this for you by 11. Can we renegotiate another time? And so at least you've had the opportunity to have that conversation. And sometimes we go, some of these seem so obvious to some of us, but to other people, these are not so obvious. And so this is where we build our trust. Then let's move to the directing dimension, our orange dimension. And that's on the logical, the task side of the model. And that's, again, in dealing with what's present, what's here right now. And so what we want to pay attention to in here is avoiding drama states. And we'll talk a little more about drama states there and how to be aware of if we're in a drama state. And be accountable. And by that, I'm talking about clarifying roles, accountability, and authority. And when things are going wrong in a situation with another person, the question we might want to ask ourselves is, what am I accountable for in this situation? Because there's always two sides. Up to visioning, which is our blue dimension, being 100% committed and addressing unfortunate reality. And this is where we demonstrate commitment. The idea about being 100% committed is when there's something that has to be done, again, intentionally think, how committed am I to this? And if it's a leader that we're coaching, the questions might be, are you demonstrating commitment around this initiative that you're trying to roll out? What are you doing to demonstrate commitment? The addressing unfortunate reality is an important behavior as well, because this is where we are willing to look at bad news and willing to be aware that this is the challenge. This is what's really going on right here, right now. And what do we need to do to avoid just rationalizing this away and saying, I don't want to hear bad news, I just want solutions. And then cultivating the green dimension, which is on our future, what's possible people side. This is where we express authentic appreciation and we address shared interests. So the idea about making sure that we're caring about our people, making sure that we're caring about, caring about the people that are in our relationship system. And this is when we do this by expressing gratitude. And again, this is something that when we look at it, we go, yeah, we should be doing this all the time. But sometimes when pressure's on, we might forget to do this, but this is important. And the idea of addressing shared interest. What does the other person want that I can want for them also? Were you going to say something, Anne?
Yes, I think because I just saw the time, we have 35 minutes left total, yes. And we want to do a coaching demo. So after that, we'll go directly to the coaching demo. Go ahead.
That sounds good. So that's the 4D model very quickly. There's a lot more to it, and we can talk more about it later if you want to chat with us. The next thing we want to talk about is the red storyline. So paying attention to the red storylines in our heads when we're thinking about a situation that might be conflicting, and just really noticing, what is my story? What am I telling myself about this situation? And how might I be able to shift that red storyline to a green storyline? And so leading in Vuca really requires the ability to do this. And one of the things that we can do is to practice this change of mindset model, and we call it AMBER, A-M-B-R, and we've got it here. It's what do I need to pay attention to? What kind of mindset do I have? What kind of mindset do I need? What behaviors do I need to practice? And what are the results that I'm actually looking for? So again, it's really about being clear and intentional about this process that we have in order to achieve results versus just trying to make it happen by brute force. So attention, mindset, behaviors, and results. And another thing we want to do as coaches is to really help our clients recognize the drama states that they might be getting into and how they can get out of it. So the drama states are things like being a victim, being a rescuer, and being the blamer. And in 4D, we have one more, and that's the rationalizer. And that's the person who sees the bad news and says, yeah, I just don't want to believe that. I'm gonna follow my biases and just ignore that bad news,
or that bad feedback, or that bad feedback,
or whatever it might be, whatever the negative, whatever the bad news is. If somebody gives you, yeah, exactly, the bad feedback. If it's bad feedback, it's like, well, I don't really need to do anything. They're wrong.
Yeah.
Did you want to jump in, Franz?
Yeah, just clarity around also how can we use this model, because I've heard the word us coaches. So if you're not a coach, if you're not a certified coach, how can leaders apply this? And is it applicable for those who don't have a coaching certification?
Yes.
Clarity,
absolutely.
please. Thank
absolutely. So I'll just say very quickly to it, and then Anne, you can follow up. So the whole idea about 4D is to actually be able to identify where we are on the model. And there's a very quick assessment that you can do. And again, we can talk about that in a follow-up conversation. But we determine where we land on the model and where we generally practice our leadership strategies or our communication strategies with others. And then notice that there are 3 other dimensions that other people will be in, and how we might want to be addressing them and chatting with them. So it's not just necessarily about using this as a coaching tool, which it's a great coaching tool, but it's a great self-management tool as well. And you want to speak to that?
Oui, ce qu'on peut rajouter là-dessus en termes de comment est-ce qu'on l'utilise quand on n'est pas un coach, d'une part, on peut... How NASA Builds Teams est un livre avec tout dedans, avec le questionnaire pour savoir de 7 questions qui vous permet de savoir dans quelle dimension vous êtes de façon naturelle. Donc, est-ce que vous êtes plus du côté altruiste, si je vais en français, du côté altruiste, inclusif, visionnaire ou directif? Ça, c'est une première chose. Et après ça, essayez de penser à votre équipe pour se dire, bon, mais moi, dans mon équipe, j'ai qui? Ça ressemble à qui? Mes collègues sont qui? Puis, est-ce qu'il y a des trucs là-dedans que je peux utiliser? Au même titre qu'on utilise MBTI ou qu'on utilise DISC ou l'énéagramme ou peu importe lequel, c'est le même type d'outil à ce niveau-là. En revanche, ce qui devient très utile, c'est ce qu'on va faire en démo, parce qu'on va vous présenter le Context Shifting Worksheet, qui est une grille de transformation de contexte qui est disponible, qui n'a pas de droit d'auteur dessus. Donc, vous pouvez prendre et vous pouvez l'utiliser. Donc, comme leader, ça va vous permettre de passer à travers tout le modèle et de pouvoir vous-même activer, vous auto-coacher ou vous préparer à une conversation, ou vous préparer à régler un conflit, ou vous préparer même à faire une présentation et vous assurer que vous avez tout, vous avez fait l'ensemble du Context Shifting Worksheet. Do you want me to say it in English? Jonathan?
No, I think we're okay. I think we're just for the sake of time. I think we kind of said similar things. How far do you want to head to jump ahead to here?
I think we're jumping directly to the demo, if it's okay with you.
Sure.
And we can come back.
Yep. So do we have somebody?
Yes, we do. We have Dinesh. Dinesh, I am going to... Yes. Hi, it's Barbara. Dinesh, I'm going to bring you over to the panelist mode. And once you're there, it takes less than a second and a half. She is almost here. And I'm going to invite you, Dinesh, in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. You'll see the mute and the video button. There you are. Welcome. Over to you, Anne and Jonathan.
Thank you.
Hi, Dinesh. Welcome. Do you want to do this in French or English?
English.
Okay, so I guess I'm up on this one. Perfect. So thanks for participating in this exercise with us, and we'll try to make this fun and useful for you. So Dinesh, let's just begin. So let's use this context shifting worksheet as the guide for our coaching conversation. So we won't get into a lot of other questions. We'll stick with the script right here.
So I'll just interrupt 1 second before you start. What I'll do is I'll translate, or I'll give an idea after each block.
Okay.
So
okay.
After number 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
Thanks.
Okay. So you want to do that right from the situation as well? Just describe the situation.
No, do the whole number 1 complete, okay. And then I'll summarize.
Perfect. Okay, Dinesh. So what is the situation that you want to resolve?
The situation that I want to resolve is I'm very ambitious. Okay. So I quickly want to jump into the corporate ladders. Okay. Which I know as, especially in public sector, okay, it's not possible. So that's my challenge. So when I don't get the result that I want, or I feel that I deserve, this is me thinking that I deserve that, then I start feeling frustrated. And then I start feeling frustrated, then obviously the whole thing gets into the team buildings and stuff like. I try to do things which, I should not be doing it, but it's because I'm ambitious. I'm going to get around to the corporate quickly. That's the issue that I have.
Okay. So you're breaking up there a little bit. So the situation that you want to resolve is actually with yourself.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. So what is the outcome that you're committed to realizing here?
Well, the 2 outcomes that I want to realize onto it too is obviously I need to calm myself down. 1, okay. 2, I need to understand that things takes time. Okay. Am I ready for the next level or so me, I think I'm ready for the next level. My supervisor, managers, or whoever may think the otherwise, but then even if I think that I'm ready for the next level, as soon as I get the next level position, so rather than focusing and perfecting that position, now I want to jump onto the next following positions or to the following position because I'm ambitious. I'm very ambitious. I want to be on the top of the corporate ladder.
Okay. All right. So what's your limiting storyline here? Your red storyline. What are you telling yourself about this? That's
the red storyline that I have is the opportunities. Okay. The opportunities that I'm getting I feel that, hey, or the position where I am at the moment, I think that's much below than what I'm capable of it too. So, hey, I can do more. I can do more. But there is, as I said, there is a processes to follow. There is a systems to follow and all that stuff too. And I'm kind of a believer that, hey, if you need to be a leader, then I'm not saying I'm right, but say break the rules, get the work done, and what needs to get the work accomplished, which does not happen actually. Make sense?
So yeah, so that's your red storyline. Is that you feel capable that you can do more, but you're not getting the opportunities? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
that's the red storyline. You're able to do it, but you're not getting the opportunities.
Yes,
so what's the empowering storyline that you can think about? What's another way of looking at that?
So the empowering or the green storyline is last year I was given an opportunity was as we all know, in public sector, we get 4 months of enacting opportunities or so. So when I was given that 4 months of enacting opportunity, I over-delivered it. Okay. And it's not only that I'm saying that I over-delivered it, the people or the clients that I was working with, okay, they all said, Dinesh, you over-delivered what you were asked to do it. Okay. So I mean, I streamlined processes, I worked with managers, I worked with directors. So I, as an individual, did the work of what 3 people should have been doing the work to. And everybody realized that, my managers and everybody got that emails from my clients or so, that Dinesh over-delivered it. But then there is a processes, the systems that, hey, there's not enough opportunities available on the top or so, and I didn't get it. So now that I didn't get it, now that I feel frustrated, and says, hey, if I over-delivered it when I was given an opportunity, then it more kind of becomes that I'm entitled to it too. I'm capable. I'm entitled to. I should be given.
Okay, so the green storyline around this is that opportunities will come and you need to be patient about it, or is that?
Well, the green storyline is, give me an opportunity and I'll over deliver it.
Okay, all right. Okay. So let's go with that.
And I have proved that once an opportunity was given to me, I over delivered it also, which was appreciated by everybody in the department. But then this COVID hit and stuff happens, and now I'm saying, oh, I'm losing out on the patients.
Okay, so what I'm actually sort of hearing from this is it's actually not necessarily a challenge with yourself, but there is a challenge with those who might be giving or not giving opportunity. Would that be a better assessment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's look at this then. Let's jump into our context shifting worksheet, and we'll start with cultivating dimension. And let's really try to be concise with these. So what can you authentically appreciate?
Before, we'll just give a few words in French before you continue.
And I was going to suggest, that's why I appeared, I was going to suggest to move on to the entire process in English. I'm afraid we're going to lose time or not enough time, and maybe have too many breaks in between for the coachee. So I would suggest having another demo recorded for participants who would like to have the French demonstration. Okay, is that okay, Anne and Jonathan? Perfect.
Sure,
continue. Sorry for intervening.
No problem. We have to honor the time. So Dinesh, what can you authentically appreciate about the other party in this difficult situation?
The way I appreciate the authenticity of the other party is they have to look at the entire team. Okay. And then there are positions which are, I'm an English essential. Okay. But then there are positions which comes up as bilingual positions. So they need to then look at the people, those who are bilingual, okay, as much as they want to give it to me, they can't give it to me because I'm only English essential. I'm not a bilingual person or so.
Okay,
so
all right.
I do appreciate that.
Make sense? Yep, absolutely. So what do they want that you can want for them also?
Come again?
So what did they want that you can want for them as well?
Okay. What I look at the things at a higher perspective, that hey, I was given an opportunity and I over delivered it. They look at it that hey, the devil is in the detail. Okay, so yes, the high level picture is important, but you still need to get to the details of the stuff to get it done too. So that kind of becomes a bit of a disconnect between the SSA. I did the work, but then there's some attention to details or attention to accuracy and stuff like that. That basically that's the kind of a thing that holding this up to.
Okay, so they want details, and you want to be able to have them have the details as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so let's look at our including dimension. So list everyone that you need to include to succeed. Who are the people?
Oh, so it's my supervisor, supervisor, then manager of the supervisor also. Okay, everybody included there. And because when a decision is made, is obviously is a team decision. It's not one person decision. But yes, the supervisor decision is more important because she's the immediate supervisor or so. Make sense?
Yep. So next question, what implicit or explicit agreements have you broken that you must now process?
I won't say broken, but I would say coming back to the same attention to detail, making sure whatever tasks that I'm assigned to, coming back to the same thing, that deliver the results or building the trust with the supervisors. As if I commit a date that, hey, I will do that work or deliver that project on that day or so, I need to make sure that I deliver it. Okay, and if I'm not, then I need to renegotiate that date of this so that it's not hanging in between or so.
Okay. All right. Let's look at our visioning dimension. So what uncomfortable reality must you confront to create the outcome that you want?
The uncomfortable reality is I don't like doing the administrative work.
Okay.
Filing and all that stuff too. That's called mundane work or a boredom work or so.
Okay.
But the role that I am into, it's we all need to do we all need to make sure that we properly keep ourselves organized, filing and stuff like that too. That's part and parcel of the job too. Okay.
Right.
And I go to be uncomfortable, although I'm uncomfortable, but I still need to do that part.
Okay, that's great. So how committed to realizing this, the above outcome are you?
Oh, now that I know that this is the only thing which is kind of a holding them for giving me the position, is because they feel that, hey, this is an important piece of my current role that I'm not able to file the documents or, keeping myself organized or so. So I need to spend some time there, whether I like it or I don't like it. I don't have a parcel of the job that I have to do it, making myself organized. Thinking high level is fine, but you can only be high level once you're organized yourself. So organization is a key part of being in any role, any position. So if you are better organized, then you can achieve better results.
Okay, so just if you had to put a number on that, what's the percentage that you're committed?
Oh, now I'm committed 100%.
Okay, that's great. Let's look at.
That's the only thing that's holding me up. So as he said, for me, get on to what I need to do. I'm always once I realize that this is the thing which is holding my growth up, being an organized person or so, then I'm 100% committed to do it.
Excellent.
Attention to detail, or the devil is in the detail, is
right.
What I need to do.
Okay, so the last dimension to look at here is any drama states you need to process at this time: victim, blamer, rescuer, or rationalizer.
Well, I tried. Okay, first I tried blaming a whole lot of a word for me not getting the position, but then I came back and said the only person that I can blame for not getting the position is me myself. Okay, so I need to take ownership. I need to take responsibility, because once I know that what the outcome that I want, it's only I can create that outcome first for myself. Once I deliver it, then yes, the other people will see the results. And I got to have a bit of a patience also. that it's not all about me, it's about the teamwork. There are circumstances, there are situations that happen. So I need to look at, I mean, yes, I'm here now, but what happens if I grow into a very senior level position? Then I can't be only thinking about myself. I got to think of the entire team or entire department. So I got to look at big picture perspective. Okay, so it's not about only what happens if once I reach a high level position and one of my subordinate does the same thing which I'm doing it now, how will I feel that way?
Okay,
so
let's hold on that one, and then let's do the last point here. What needs to be done to develop accountability, your accountability in this?
What needs to be done to develop accountability is one of the things that I have done is I have put metrics for my role or my the metrics that I put in, that okay, Monday I'm going to do this things, job or so, and at the end of the Monday I review it whether I actually did it or didn't do it. If I didn't do it, why didn't I do it? Okay. So finding the reasons, putting the accountability to myself first.
Okay, excellent.
Nobody can make me accountable unless I don't make myself accountable.
All right. So what are the specific actions or requests that you will now take or make?
Well, the specific action that I think, as I said, I now have a full-fledged work plan, taking each element of the job rather than saying that, okay, I'll do the 80% of the job and the 20%, which is the filing and organizing, I won't do it. That does not cut it out, because you can't be missing 20, but if you miss 20% on one part of the job, then you're going to miss the 20%. You're going to take some shortcuts, or then you're going to take cut out 20% on the other job and 20% on the other job. Accumulatively, all these 20% one day will become 100% that you missed. Okay, so let's focus on what I have in the hand to make sure that I do 100% of what I have it. Okay, take the team along. Don't only think about myself, think globally, think big picture perspective, but keep the attention to the detail. Okay, and yeah, I'm still young. Okay, so the success will come. Success will come, and that's the accountability that I have done it to myself.
All right. So are these steps adequate?
Yeah, they're
okay.
I mean, I started this a couple of weeks back or so, well, a month back or so, and I've already started seeing a lot of improvements in myself. I've already seen a lot of progress on. In the beginning, it was uncomfortable doing the filing, uncomfortable being a little bit organized, because I was always thinking high level. But then sometime I realized that for finding some information, because I wasn't organized, it was taking me more time than if I was organized and would have taken me. So the time that I'm saving now by being organized, that time I can focus on the other extracurricular, other activities or so. So all in all, yeah, it was uncomfortable in the beginning, but now that I've formed a process, I've formed a system or so, things are seamless, and the team and the managers and the supervisors, they all are appreciating the change that they've seen in me in the last little while. I was and I am a team player, but then this change that they've seen in me of agreeing that yes, doing the filing or doing mundane tasks is still part and parcel of the job, that we all have to do it too.
Yep.
So more a cohesive environment now.
Thanks, Dinesh. So we're gonna end this here, and we certainly appreciate that. If you were using this in a coaching situation or spending more time on it, which we would really want to, this is going to take a lot longer than just as quickly as we've tried to demonstrate it to fit the time. So there's a lot of conversation in each one of these dimensions that we can have with ourselves if we're not coaches. But if we're coaching others or coaching leaders or coaching team members or whatever it might be, these are the kinds of questions that we want to pay attention to. And what's interesting is that one of the emerging themes that came out of Dinesh's conversation, and if I were coaching him, we would talk about it much more, was that uncomfortability around the process, around processing things. some people are amazing at process, and some people aren't so comfortable with process. They're more interested in bigger ideas and whatnot. But the idea is that we want to make sure that if we are strong in big ideas, we have to start practicing behaviors that are going to bring up our strength in process, and also including, and also our appreciation of other people. So that was wonderful. Thank you very much, Dinesh. I really appreciate you participating in that and taking a risk.
No, if you don't take risk, we don't do that.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you both. Merci beaucoup à tous les deux. Rapidement, ce qui vient de se passer, c'est que Jonathan a vraiment accompagné Dinesh de la même façon en suivant vraiment la grille. Donc, la première partie qui est en noir, c'était vraiment sur c'est quoi la situation. Et ce que Dinesh a dit rapidement, c'était qu'il avait envie de monter rapidement, encore une fois, dans l'échelle. D'avoir des promotions, d'aller de promotion en promotion, et tout en étant conscient qu'il avait toujours, même quand il est arrivé à la nouvelle étape, il avait envie de l'autre. Donc, d'apprendre à être plus patient. Il a parlé de ces red storylines, donc des pensées qui limitent, des pensées qui peuvent l'aider, et de changer ça. Il a regardé, quand on regarde dans le verre un peu plus bas, qu'est-ce qu'il peut apprécier de la situation, des patrons qui veulent être justes pour l'ensemble de l'équipe, qui veulent s'assurer d'avoir le côté bilingue, qui veulent s'assurer d'avoir le niveau de détail qu'ils ont besoin, qu'est-ce qu'ils ont en commun, qu'est-ce qu'ils peuvent souhaiter pour ces patrons-là qu'ils peuvent avoir et qui va lui permettre de faire un lien avec eux, qui pourrait être ses alliés, donc son superviseur et le chef du superviseur ou le manager du superviseur. Les engagements brisés, il a dit oui, ben peut-être que je n'ai pas autant donné le côté détaillé qu'il voulait avoir, donc il faudrait que je le fasse autrement. On est allé du côté de son engagement où il a dit qu'il était pleinement engagé, et la réalité, c'est qu'il n'aimait pas tant ça, faire toute la partie classement, archivage, papier et administratif, d'éviter de blâmer les autres pour ne pas avoir ce qu'il veut, et de qu'est-ce qu'il peut faire pour se rendre justement encore plus responsable ou accountable dans cet exercice, c'est de se faire une structure et de la suivre comme il avait déjà commencé à faire. Fait que comme vous avez pu voir, c'est un outil dans lequel on peut aller en profondeur quand on prend le temps, ou on peut le faire aussi pour juste se guider, pour s'assurer qu'on a couvert l'ensemble des dimensions, l'ensemble des 8 comportements en même temps, et qu'on a pu regarder un même problème sous différents angles. Et c'est pour ça qu'on croit que cet outil-là est aussi un outil Vuca. Do you want to add anything?
No, I think we want to try to just get to the end, and I think you've covered it really well. Where are we going to jump to?
So, conclusion, let's go for the 3 ways we can do coaching. Go ahead.
Okay, so 3 ways we can do coaching with 4D. So with team coaching, we can introduce this notion to our teams. We can launch a TDA, which is a team development assessment. We debrief that with our team, developing a plan on what we need to pay attention to move forward with some coaching. And then we reassess the team. So it's kind of like a lather, rinse, repeat, just like washing your hair. You do it once and then you do it again. Then we can do this with individual coaching, and we can bring the 4D model up in our chemistry meeting or our discovery meeting, and sort of have a 3-way conversation with the person's manager to clarify expectations. Launch the IDA, which is the individual development assessment, and review the relevant reports that come from that. Debrief and elaborate on the IDA. Have the coaching around the areas that this person wants to develop, and and it's one thing at a time, right? We don't want to say learn the whole thing. Just let's look at something that we want to pay attention to and practice, and then move on to something else and start practicing the whole thing. Then we have our 3-way meeting again with the manager to find out how things are going and what the next steps are. And then we can just develop a 4D culture in our organization. So having monthly lunch and learn to talk about this, talk about one specific behavior that we want to practice and notice. Have peer-to-peer development, so buddy systems where people are supporting each other. Quarterly team coaching, reassessing a team with a TDA, and and offering train the trainer programs and creating 4D ambassadors. So having maybe one person in the organization who is going to be specifically paying attention to 4D and launching 4D ideas for the rest of the people.
Okay, I'm sorry, my connection seems to be unstable right this minute. So I'll go quickly through it. Il y a 3 façons de coacher avec le 4D. On peut le faire, on peut se servir des outils, même si on n'est pas coach. Si vous êtes coach interne ou si vous êtes un coach externe et que vous voulez vous en servir, c'est aussi, c'est un peu ce qu'on retrouve normalement dans le coaching d'équipe. Alors, on fait une introduction sur 4D, on fait une évaluation de l'équipe qui se fait en ligne sur les 8 comportements. On fait la restitution à l'équipe et avec le leader. On fait un coaching d'équipe pour la faire évoluer sur les comportements, mais aussi sur sa situation, son actualité. Et on réévalue l'équipe une fois par année, par exemple. Le coaching individuel, c'est comme un coaching, une démarche de coaching régulière. Donc, on a une partie de est-ce qu'il y a un fit, est-ce qu'on a la chimie qui s'installe, une rencontre tripartite au début, une à la fin. On utilise, si on veut, l'évaluation individuelle qui nous permet de savoir la personne comme un 360, les gens, les parties prenantes autour d'elle l'aperçoivent comment par rapport aux 8 comportements. C'est la même chose pour les équipes d'ailleurs. On fait la restitution avec la personne, un plan de développement, un plan de coaching et on réévalue l'année suivante pour voir l'évolution. Pour développer une culture 4D, on peut le faire de différentes façons. On peut faire des grands séminaires, on peut faire des petits séminaires, mais les lunch and learn du midi pour juste parler d'un comportement à la fois, une fois par mois, par exemple, c'est une belle façon de développer la culture. De faire du co-développement, qui peuvent servir à différentes choses, incluant les 8 comportements, le coaching d'équipe sur une base trimestrielle, la réévaluation, puis regarder un programme d'ambassadeur, de faire un train the trainer à l'intérieur du programme. Fait que, quand on parle tout à l'heure d'évaluation, c'est simplement en ligne, c'est une évaluation sur les 8 comportements que les 360, les personnes invitées. Quand c'est une équipe, c'est les membres de l'équipe qui se regardent et qui se disent jusqu'à quel point on est bon à se dire merci, qu'on inclut les gens correctement, qu'on tient nos engagements, etc. Si c'est un individu, c'est comme un 360, il demande à ses N+1, ses collègues et ses gens qui se rapportent à elle ou à lui, de pouvoir lui donner une perception sur ses comportements. Do you want to go through this? We can't hear you.
Sorry, I was just saying I was worried about our time. France, how are we doing? We need to wrap up?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay,
2 minutes.
Make this really quick. So we can do all of these individual and team assessments online. The IDAs measure behaviors through a 360 assessment process. Reassess to provide a benchmarking and tracking the progress. You can actually measure how well the team is doing, and build content and development plan around what the individual is looking to do. And this information is relevant in all industries in Western and Eastern worlds. Let's move on to the next one. You've done that? I don't think we have time to address this,
basically,
do we?
No.
And anyways,
No,
the documents will be shared in the platform, Padlet platform. I had people asking until when do we have access to recording. According to my information that I have from a producer, Barbara, December 28th would be the deadline to access all the great content and the recording, and also access to the French and English version of the presentation. And you have contact information for Jonathan and Anne. So if you have any questions, I know there was some people who said, is this something good for conflict resolution? I'm sure it's something that can be applicable. So you have the go ahead from Anne and Jonathan to use in different contexts. But I want to reiterate the importance of having content like this and tools like this. Thank you so much, Anne and Jonathan, for sharing your expertise, knowledge, and a new model that we can use. Maybe not a new model, but a new model for us, for many of us. And thank you for also sharing great not just content, but experiences and stories and real life examples. Donc, merci beaucoup, Anne et Jonathan, pour votre expertise, l'outil et ce partage. Je réitère que cet après-midi, c'est notre célébration de coaching pour finaliser, clôturer la semaine de coaching. I invite all of you to come and join. We will have coaches who will also share more tools, more knowledge. Donc, venez à 1h, allez prendre une petite bouchée et au plaisir de se retrouver à 1h. Thank you so much again. Merci à tous. Bon après-midi.
Thanks, everyone.
Merci beaucoup.